Welcome back to another episode of Raul's World of Synths. I am Raul. Today we're going to be picking up where we left off and kind of just looking at different types of filters. We were sort of examining the last time the diode filter, or listening to it I should say, and then kind of listening how that low pass type sound that you get with this guy compares to, for example, the A121, and then also how it kind of compares to the A120 up here at the top. So we heard a little bit of sort of different resonance high settings on these filters. Primarily, all three of those were able to go into self-oscillation, but they just sounded a little bit different. So not necessarily one better than the other, but just different in character. At any rate, this time around, we're going to be still listening to the diode filter, but we're going to kind of compare it to maybe a couple of the other filters that are here. So let's get that sound of the diode filter back in our ears again. Here we go. There we go. All right, so there's our diode filter. And this time, why don't we just jump into something a little different. Let's see, I have a patch cable set up already. So let's listen to, this time around, the A101-2 low pass gate that I have down here. So I'm going to patch in. Something interesting to note about this filter is that it's actually sort of modeled in the style of sort of a Buchla type filter. And if you're kind of curious about sort of the specs, it's got a 12 decibel per octave filter that we're going to be hearing. And again, you know, the diode filter is a 24/18 decibel per octave filter. If you want to know more about what exactly that means, there are several websites. I believe Tim Stincombe, I think I'm saying it correctly, has a really good article on those types of filters, as well as there's sort of a discussion and I think a link to that article, if I'm not mistaken, on the A10, let's see, that's the A102 diode filter page, yes. So if you want to see more or read more about the 24/18 dB filter in the diode filter, check out the website. So without further ado, let's jump right in. We have our input over there. And this one actually, if you remember back to that series, operates in three modes as VCA, which we're not going to play around with too much over here. Operates in this sort of dual mode in the middle, and then low pass. So we'll listen to the dual mode and then also the low pass mode. So let's take our audio out, which I think is right there. Yep. Audio out, and then we'll just go up into 1. There we go. Let me bring the cutoff. I'll bring the resonance down a little bit because it's about to get crazy. All right, let's adjust resonance a little bit. You can hear right there the nice kind of, almost that little whistling as it gets into the self-oscillation range. I think that's semi-similar to what I had patched over in the diode filter. We'll check it out here in a second. Now, one thing to know about this filter too is that it has Vactrols inside of it, For the most part, Vactrals, as most people know, or if you don't know, I'm about to tell you, Vactrals are special types of components that are not exact and overall have an effect on the sound that people hear as being described as mellow or smooth. There's a page that goes into great detail called Vactral Basics on the Doepfer website, so if you want more info, I would check that out. It also has an effect on the CV input. So CV input is not going to be able to track 1 volt per octave as some of the other filters that we've been listening to can. But it definitely has its own unique character here as well. Okay, I'm going to turn the cutoff all the way down, and now let's turn the diode up. So definitely a different type sound going on here. Okay, I'm going to bring the cutoff all the way down. Let's listen to it one more time. Bring this up. Resonance down a little. Okay, let's switch over to the dual mode in the middle. Oops, went too far. Right there, it's dual mode. Let's bring up the cutoff. Okay, let me do that little passage with this too. So you can hear that these two definitely have their own unique character between the two. Not necessarily to say that one is better than the other, just different character altogether. Very, very much evident that both sort of cut off high frequencies as you're moving the cutoff down, until you close the filter and then no frequencies pass. But in general, very, very different sounding. Now, let's kind of unpatch this, and we'll go to our next filter. So let's see, we've done the A120, then the A121, then the A101-2. Now let's go ahead and jump in and listen to the Wasp filter. How about that? So I'm going to patch into audio in, which is on top this time. There we go. And then we're going to patch this output into the lower output, because there's actually 3 filters altogether, but the low pass is actually on the bottom. So patch that in. And there's our Wasp filter. And right here, if you remember watching the previous videos on the A102, you heard me kind of compare it to this one. I kind of mentioned that it reminded me a little bit about it. And so I went back and actually listened to it a little bit. So if I adjust the frequency cutoff, some of these distorted sounds kind of in the middle here very much remind me of that sort of overdriven sound that we're getting a lot of with the A102. Now, one of the big differences here is that while the resonance does go extremely high on the A124, it does not go into self-oscillation, which means you would not be able to use this as a sine wave oscillator, but it does give you some nice crunchy distorted type sounds. Okay, turn the cutoff down. Let's listen to the diode filter again. Let me bring up the resonance a little bit. So there's the kind of saturated, very distorted type effects coming from this filter. And I'm going to have to actually go back on something I said where I thought it was sort of very similar. They are similar in the respect, to me anyway, that they do allow you to get some of those saturated sounds, but compared to the Wasp filter, I'm really feeling like the diode filter is actually fairly controllable. Let me bring this up again. So now let me bring the cutoff down a little bit. And you can kind of hear right there the kind of saturation, just kind of breaking up the sound right there. And if I bring it up all the way, the resonance, you can hear that kind of just crazy, distorted, crunchy type sounds. I can even overdrive the input too. And bring that down and bring this up again. So I think you kind of get the idea there. Definitely a worthwhile venture if you haven't already played around with that filter to do so. Let me unpatch this. And let me bring my cutoff on my diode filter down a little bit. Okay, let me check on time and see where we're at. I think we're going to have to actually pause for a little while. Let's see. This time around, we did the A101-2 Buchla Low Pass gate type filter, and then we listened to the A124 Wasp filter. And then in the previous videos, you should have heard, if you were with us, the diode filter sort of next to or side by side with the A121, and then also the A120. In the last segment, what we're going to do is listen to a couple of different type filters. I'm throwing the A125 in just because I already had it set up and I recently did a video series on this one. So I'm going to throw this one in so we can listen to it. Not technically a low pass filter, just want to make that clear. Comb filter within here, but we are going to listen to it anyway. And then of course the A106-1 extreme filter. So hopefully you found this useful and we're able to hear, some comparisons between the different filter types. Or not filter types, but the different filter styles, I guess would be a better way to describe them, here within the Doepfer system. And crazy thing is there's actually a few more filters out there. I don't have an exact number, but if you look at the website, I would say venture a guess at least 6 or 7 more filters out there. And even a couple that, or actually one that I chose not to include in this one, the triple voltage controlled resonance filter, I chose not to put in this series of demos just because of sheer screen space and real estate that particular filter has. At any rate, hopefully you found this useful. Please stay with us and watch the next segment where we're going to be listening to the A106-1 and the phase shifter. So keep on patching out there, and thanks for watching.